Hi, gang. This is Leon Clow. I'm going to be your instructor for the 6-week session for Loss and Crime Prevention and Investigation, SMGT 440, for Spring '02 session. And just wanted to give you a quick little tour of the course and introduce myself to you. I will have a posted introduction in the introduction section, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys post your information and a little bit about yourselves as well. This is a pretty broad course. It covers uh, uh, history as a contextual perspective on the main topic, which is crime prevention and loss prevention. You can tell as we go through the various chapters, there is a little bit of a progression, and some of the chapters end up overlapping and carrying a common theme all the way through the end of the 6 weeks. So, one thing to point out to you, I want you to be very careful about this section in here where we talk about assigned readings and preparation activities. These are really designed to help you participate in the discussion board down here. So we'll talk a little bit about the discussion board really quickly. The discussion board is it's not really free points. Okay, so since you don't have in-class participation, this is really one of the few spaces that I get a chance to see the way that critical thinking works and the way that you can buffet ideas from other students and then come back and either aid their point or come up with a counterpoint or a position. And all of this, of course, is going to be in the context of using some academic rigor. So we're going to want to research and we're going to want to find sources for our information. So essentially, in anything that you do in this class, whether it's a discussion board or a paper, you're going to want to have a source for anything that's not common knowledge. So the sky is blue is common knowledge, for example. But the fact that a certain statute in the state of Arizona covers a certain level of liability for property owners who use video cameras on their property, that is not common knowledge. So you'd want to source that. I'm really big on not quoting. So if you give me a paper or even a discussion that is has even more than a small quote in it, I'm probably going to have you rewrite it or just take points off. See lots of papers from time to time that end up being just a lot of quotes. So what you do there is you'll still reference it, but you'll get the general idea of what it is you're quoting, or collect a series of different sources, and then instead of quoting them directly, just put them all into one concept or idea, a few sentences or a paragraph, and then cite the sources as you would appropriately. On that topic, we are going to be using APA in this course. It's a school requirement, and it is really just the right thing to do because you need to give credit to people who have worked hard ahead of you and ahead of me to give us the information that we need to use. The source for that is Purdue OWL, OWL, and you can Google that. And there's also a link here on the left side for that. But if you've been a student here before, you should be familiar with what APA is. I do not teach APA, and I will give you some guidance, but I'm not going to go in depth. I will be referring you back to using the website and following the instructions in the Purdue OWL because they are fairly plain and simple, but you do have to spend a little bit of time in there. On that topic, well, we'll get back to that in just a little bit. So as you go through your weekly assignments here, units 1 through 6, weeks 1 through 6, you'll have graded work due. Okay, this first week, for example, it's just a discussion for Unit 1. You'll also have to do your introductions, and then there's a instructional down here at the bottom that tells you what Unit 1's discussion is going to be all about. As you move through each of the weeks, you're going to have different types of assignments that are going to be due. Unit 2 looks like just a discussion as well. In week 3, you end up having a written assignment. Okay, and it's due by a little before midnight Central Time. School is in Kansas, so we're on Kansas time, which is Central. And there's the link down here to submit that. Again, this assignment's going to be in APA. I'm going to do a separate video that's going to talk to you about APA, and I'll probably do that before the third week when that paper is due. So that might help a lot of you with any questions or who have maybe not quite caught on to some of the concepts of APA to maybe get a little bit of a head start. But one thing I recommend is that once you get a good APA setup, save it. save it as a template, and then use it again, okay? So let me see, Unit 6, we're going to have another narrated presentation, okay? And if you read the instructions down here for the narration, they are fairly simple, and then there is a presentation doc, which is right here. We get into discussions. You're going to find introduction section, and then Unit 1, just post, and then you're going to be able to find some different people to respond to. You don't need to respond to everyone, but I would like you to pick at least 2, maybe 3. On that, with discussion responses, I would really love for you guys to be as broad in your responses as possible. So if you respond to 10 other people and you give 2-sentence responses, it's not really the equivalent grading-wise for 10 responses. So I'd much rather have you do at least your 2 minimums with a very thorough response, maybe even using some citation, because there is a hierarchy for the grading, where the more citation you use and the more critical thinking you use and the more you're guiding the learning process with your peers, the higher your grade will be. Good or average is pretty much just doing the single post that's not so stellar, but does cover the information, and 2 responses. Moving the grade up from there, you would probably do a bit longer, maybe 2 to 3 paragraphs, multiple citations, teaching us some things we maybe don't know, and then engaging multiple students, 3, 4, 5, with a moderate amount of information. Not all necessarily, a full type of a cited type paper. Really would rather have you get into a conversation more than anything, but just don't think that simple 2 or 3 sentences will cover a full response, because I know your brains are bigger than that, smarter than that, and I think that you guys can, from what I've seen, are very capable of giving really solid responses. So this is my video introduction to this course. I think it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you and engaging, and we'll see you in the classroom